Hey, welcome back to another tutorial. As I said in my previous video on ButtonValueCycle, we're going to be going over some of the common UI components. They're super useful. This time is the ButtonValueShift. The ButtonValueShift will shift a value by a certain delta value, and I'll show you how that works. I'm going to go over to Smooth POV and set up for you. Whilst I'm doing that, a quick note that I forgot to mention in the previous video, which you can see down there, it's over there, is that these work with other types of buttons. They work with UI buttons and they work with physical buttons. It doesn't have to be a Neos UI button, but we're going to use a Neos UI button because that makes things easier. So this time we're going to be using a cylinder, and the reason is because I can shift the value of a cylinder really visually. So here's our cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and inspect it and put that next to the cylinder here. And then we're going to go ahead and create a Neos UI button again. So object, Neos UI button. Here's our button, and we'll inspect that as well. At the bottom of the Neos UI button, attach component, common UI, button interactions, button value shift T. The height and properties of the cylinder that we want to change are float, so I'm going to enter the word float here, and that will add it. And here is our button value shift. I'm going to assign the height of the cylinder mesh to the target value. And then I'm going to set up the rest of the things here. So delta is the amount that you want the value to shift by when you push the button. So in this case, I'm going to set it to, let's go for 1. And then the minimum and maximum are the minimum and maximum values that you want the value that the target value is registered to go to. So the minimum maximum here. Right now you'll see it set to negative 3.402823 times 10 to the power of 38 and positive 3.40 times 10 to the power of 38. The e plus 38 means times 10 to the power of and then the number after the plus. It's what's called scientific notation, and it's what the science community uses to express really large numbers. This is 3.40 with like a lot of zeros after it. It's a really big number. It's the max value that can be stored within a Neos field. I'm going to lower this and I'm going to say, hey, the minimum is 0 and the maximum is, let's go for 10. Oh, that's 100. There's 10. So now you'll see that when I push this button, the cylinder grows by 1 each time I push it. So you can see its height is now 3. And if I push the button again, it will go to 4. And it will just keep expanding upwards. When it gets to the max value, it will stop. However, if I go ahead and check this wraparound property, you'll see it shrinks all the way back down to the bottom again. And then we can start again and go all the way to the top and go all the way to the bottom. If I take it to the top again, very carefully, so I don't wrap around. There we go. I can also set the delta here to a negative number, which will shrink the cylinder when it is pushed, and that will also wrap around. You can see here it's shrunk all the way to 0, which is the minimum value. And it appears to be going negative now, which is probably a bug. So I will report that as a bug, but we'll keep the tutorial going here. If you keep this value positive, you shouldn't experience that. That's really weird. I didn't know you could make a cylinder have a negative height, but there we go. So that is the button value shift for you. I'm just to illustrate the button value components working with something other than a Neos UI button here. I'm going to use a physical button. I will do a tutorial of physical button. I don't want to have one right now, but I'm going to create one eventually. So for that, we're going to create a normal box. I'm going to inspect the box here. I'm going to go and attach component, transform, interaction, and then physical button. Physical button creates a button that's meant to act like an actual physical button, like an elevator button or a light switch or something like that. And so you can see here, when I push this physical button, it moves the box as though it's being physically pushed. It's moving on the wrong axis. That's fine. This isn't a tutorial on physical button, but we can quickly swap that. You'll see now it moves forwards and backwards like one of these buttons does, but it's a cube rather than a Neos UI button. So I could style it however I wanted to. If I then add the same component here, so common UI, button interactions, button value shift, I type in float. And we're going to set the target value in this case to be the radius of the cylinder. So I'll grab radius and plug it in over here. And we'll set the delta to be, let's say 0.1 this time, the minimum to be 0.1, and the maximum to be, let's say 2. We don't want it getting too big. Now when I push the physical button, you'll see that the cylinder is again growing in radius, and that will stop unless I have the wrap. Oh, that's the attach component menu. Unless I have the wraparound property set, in which case it will wrap around. So there you go. These components are super useful. I recommend checking them out. Try the other ones that are in the list. There'll probably be tutorials on them soon because I like them so much. Try them out with other things. I haven't demonstrated a UIX button here because I actually haven't experimented with those yet. I'm sure it'll work though, as that's probably what these are using. So take a look. This is also very similar to the touch value option component, so I will go ahead and link that in the video description as well. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.